Speaker, just for anyone that was watching, that, Mr Speaker, was Mr James Shaw, and he was pretty much, if I sum up in one sentence, it was that New Zealand would be a better place if only if it wasn't for the people. Damn the people, damn the businesses, damn anyone that's actually, and damn the cows, and damn anyone that's actually, and damn the birds, they like the birds. So what we hear, of course, is from a party that it's kind of easy to sit there and make all of those grandiose statements and yet not actually have the means to put them into play or actually to raise the kind of revenue for the kind of spending that they would like to do, and of course it's all rubbish. What instead we've got from this government is, of course, that kind of pragmatic and fiscal responsibility that is actually driving this country forward. Rising wages that we see all the time, middle New Zealand doing better than they ever have before. We are seeing an increase in jobs that's pretty outstanding, and things kind of really moving along there. Just as you can see, we're getting 40 houses built a week in Auckland alone. In Auckland alone, 40 new houses, 17 new social houses coming on board from any given week. In any given week, actually, on average, MSD places around 134 tenants and their families into social housing every week. And yes, Mr Speaker, there's been changes, and there's been changes in the way that we place those people and where they are and how long they're there for. The right person in the right place for the right duration at the right price. Yes, we've introduced tenancies reviews, and I heard the Prime Minister mentioning it today, and I heard the opposition in this uproar at how dreadful it is that we might be moving tenants actually out of their social houses, even though they're paying market rents, and even though more than 10% of them have gone on to actually purchase their own home. So for those whom we spoke to about actually you pay market rent, we need to free your house up for someone that is more needy than you are. More than 10% of them have gone on to purchase their own home, which does lead to, and isn't surprising, when you've got numbers like, something like, what was it? It was 12,000 families into their first homes through KiwiSaver Home Start grants. That's outstanding. That's 12,000 families that have had their lives turn around, and a portion of them have moved out of social housing and into that kind of home ownership. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is aspirational. Yes, just a week ago we announced $41.1 million more going into emergency housing. For some of those operators who were saying they were going to have to close their doors unless they got certainty of housing, then yeah, we wanted to step in. And Holly and I also announced that special need grant, and the fact that you could see that for many of them they were having to borrow, and that's just simply unfair. What we can announce today is that really the computer systems and the technology that was needed behind it meant that it wasn't until the 1st of September, but from the 1st of July we can start manually actually doing some of those to make sure that we can give those grants at that point. The other thing we've talked about today, which I think is quite important, is relocating people out of Auckland. So the reality is, sir, that we've got quite a lot of people who voluntarily, and it is voluntarily, would actually like to live in other parts of New Zealand. We see it for people who aren't in social housing. They're making the decisions to move to some of our fabulous towns and other cities around the country, like Gisborne, says the Minister from Gisborne, and understandably they want to. I think there are people that are in social housing right now that want to move but do not have the savings or the means to actually do it. So today we make the announcement that they could get a grant of up to $5,000 depending on their circumstances, the size of their family, how far they're moving, and get that kind of assistance to move out of Auckland and into the regions. And for some it'll be those that are retired and they're looking at other opportunities in other parts of the country. For others it might be those that either are or are not looking for work, because there's quite a cross-section there. It is voluntary, and I think that's really important, so before the naysayers all get too upset about it. But actually the world doesn't stop and start at Auckland. We've got a wonderful country, and opening up those sorts of opportunities for people to have them available. And Mr Speaker, you might ask where? So a quick Trade Me search tells me that actually there's like in Whangarei, over 50 houses available to rent. You can get accommodation supplement assistance of up to $120 a week, which makes it quite affordable for those that are in those circumstances. Mr Speaker, there's always more we can do, but this government is making a huge difference for our most vulnerable.